everybody. We'll get started. We've got a full agenda and a pretty good crowd tonight, so I appreciate everybody being here. So I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order on September 13th, 2022, and I'll ask our city clerk to please call roll.
Commissioner Galt?
Present.
Commissioner Guest?
Present.
Commissioner Henderson?
Present.
Commissioner Wilson?
Present.
Mayor Bray?
Present. Commissioner Galt will do our invocation. We'll remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
You'll pray with me, please. Father God, we come before you tonight to ask for wisdom, guidance, and discernment. We ask that your hand guide us as we make decisions that impact our community. We also ask for your blessings of peace and comfort for our community as many members are grieving. And we also would like to lift up the family of former Paducah City Commissioner Zana Renfro. We thank you for all the many blessings we continue to receive and pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, City Manager, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mayor, none this evening.
Okay. We have a couple of proclamations to do tonight. I'm excited about Constitution Week first. We've got some representatives of the Daughters of the American Revolution, Michelle Batcher and others. So if you guys will come up here, I'll read this and then I like that. Very nice. Okay, so this is a proclamation, whereas September 17th, 2022 marks the 235th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas every anniversary of the Constitution provides an historic opportunity for all Americans to learn about and to reflect upon the rights and privileges of citizenship and its responsibilities. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate it. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States designating September 17th to 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore, I, George Bray, Mayor of Paducah, Kentucky, hereby declare the week of September 17th to 23rd, 2022 as Constitution Week. Okay, we can get a picture. Yeah, we can't miss the photo op.
At least I'm not the shortest one.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, for being here, and thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. This next one, just read from here. Okay, I have another proclamation, and it has to do with City Government Month. And this one is kind of near and dear to my heart a little bit because September is City Government Month, and we are making this proclamation in partnership with the Kentucky League of Cities. And what we are doing here in the city is we're inviting elementary students in Paducah and the county to share what they find to be beautiful in Paducah, or how they themselves will help make our community beautiful. So for kindergarten through the second grade, we've asked them to draw a picture of something beautiful in Paducah. And for 3rd through the 5th grade, to actually write a letter to me that starts with, "I will help my community be beautiful by whatever they so choose." Now, last year we did a similar program, City Government Month, and we had, I don't know, hundreds of letters from elementary students, and they were so cute and really precious. And so we were able to choose some winners. But we will, the deadline's September 30th, and we'll show some of the pictures and read some of the letters on one of our video episodes. So if you know a young student in elementary school, urge them to be involved. And why is this important? You know, a lot of people, one of the things I've learned since I became mayor is a lot of people don't understand government, and they don't really take the time. And civics is very important, and it's not taught in schools as much as I think as much as it once was. But it's really important that our kids understand how government works and understand that they, in fact, you know, can participate and can be a part of it. So I'm really proud to make this proclamation this evening. It states, whereas civics education is important to ensure Kentucky children develop an interest and understanding of local government and their role in the community, and whereas Kentucky academic standards for social studies require instruction on citizenship and local government for entry-level elementary school children, and whereas involving and informing students of local government programs and duties can provide an opportunity for entire families to connect with vital city services and programs, and whereas there are 416 cities in Kentucky and 55% of the state's population lives in a city, and whereas City Government Month is a civics awareness campaign that educates elementary school students about city services by providing teacher lesson plans, students coloring activity books, and classroom materials. And whereas City Government Month calls on city officials to get involved in their local schools and in educating and engaging elementary school students in city government. Now, therefore, I, George P. Bray, Mayor of Paducah, Kentucky, hereby declare September of 2022 as City Government Month. Hereby. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is a presentation from Marianne Medlock from the West Kentucky Workforce Board, and she has a report on the 2022 job fair that we recently held at the Convention Center. Welcome, Marianne.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, everyone. How are you tonight? First of all, I'm here to thank the city for your investment and partnership in the West Kentucky Regional Job Fair that was held a couple of weeks ago at the Convention Center. To be able to offer events like this, it's important to have partners, and the city has been a very important partner from the beginning. They offer all kinds of advice, and they help us volunteer at the event, and it's just an incredible partnership that the West Kentucky Workforce Board values. I also would like to point out the staff who are so helpful to me in this process, from late night emails to frantic phone calls and everything in between. City Clerk Parrish, Pam Spencer, Melanie Reason, and of course the HR department with Stephanie Wilcox and Mackenzie Helsky. Thank you all so much for that. The city provided $2,500 that was used in radio advertising. We feel that it was an incredibly well-spent funding to help us with this. We had job seekers talk about the fact for the last 2 weeks before the event, they heard that ad on the radio every time they got in the car. Matter of fact, one of the job seekers said he drove a truck all day long, and all he heard was about the job fair at the convention center, which is exactly what we wanted to do. But I wanted to be able to provide you a few statistics to show the return on investment in such things. So we had 352 people register at the front table. We know that number. However, there was a back door that was unlocked, and the parking lot was so full that people started using the office door and coming up the back. And before we could get people there or reroute things, it was over with. So we think that we had at least 400 people come to that job fair, which is about what we had last year. Of the people who registered, we measured several different pieces of statistics. 57% reported that they were unemployed, and that's why they attended. The job seekers resided in 49 zip codes, and I attribute that to the reach of the radio advertising. 58% of the registered job seekers actually resided in McCracken County. We had people from as far away as Owensboro and Jackson, Tennessee. About the employers. We had 101 employers who were with us that day, plus 5 service agencies, for a total of 106 booths for the event. Companies came from 22 different zip codes. 56% were from McCracken County. 90% of them reported that the event helped them to meet potential employees, and 38% conducted interviews at that event. Now, here's what we know so far. The staff at the Kentucky Career Center have been doing follow-up phone calls with those who registered at the front table. And from what I've seen a few commissioners and a few city staff registered at the table, and you may have gotten a phone call because the notes tell me that. But what we found out is that about 25% of the job seekers actually applied for a job that day. And that's an important benchmark to understand. Job seekers struggle to understand what companies do and what jobs are. It's a big problem in workforce development as we try to educate individuals about occupations, because they have really fancy titles now. They aren't simple titles, they aren't easy to understand, and you may drive by a building every single day and you may not know what they do. So job seekers take their time. So the fact that 25% of them applied is really encouraging to me, because what happened from that is, of the 25% who applied, half of that group have already been interviewed, and half of that group has already gotten a job because of that event. Now, we will never know exactly how many people will get a job from this job fair, because they took all that information back with them, they took those applications back with them, and they're moving forward in that process. But for those job seekers who are still unsure about what they want to do, the Kentucky Career Center staff are making appointments with them and helping them through the process, and still walking through that book that we hand out that talks about the jobs and the employers that are there. So we count this as a big success. It was the largest job fair in terms of employers that we have ever had. It made me crazy in the process and very happy at the same time, because we wanted to be able to help as many employers as possible. We have had wonderful comments from the employers about the event. It was also the first time that the convention center actually utilized their pipe and drape infrastructure. So it was the first time that they were able to use that event, and I think it looked fantastic. So I'm here tonight to thank you for being a partner once again. And if there isn't anything in terms of workforce development that you need, I'm happy to help you, and I look forward to our next project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Any comments from any of my fellow commissioners?
Great information.
Yeah, Mayor, they were on their job, because I did get a call wanting to know if I was still needing a job. I don't know if that was an omen or not, but I told them at present I'm employed.
Well, let me just say this, I'm involved in economic development, through the GPED board and working on projects every day. And every single project that looks at Paducah talks about the workforce and the opportunity for the workforce, if they're gonna come in here and bring 150 jobs, what is the availability of the workforce? What is the skills, what are the skill sets of the workforce? And so Mary Ann does a great job, supporting us in many, many ways, but putting people, job seekers, into jobs is really important. I mean, the economy it's different. It's more different right now than it's ever been in my lifetime. People going into restaurants and not being able to be served because they don't have employees. I mean, there's just lots of really different things going on right now, and I think eventually things will settle down, but I don't know how long it's going to take. But it's really important work, and we're proud to support the job fair. Thanks, Mary Ann. Okay, the next introduction I have to make is of Mariah Gratz with Weyland Ventures. Weyland Ventures is our partner in the City Block project downtown, and Mariah is here to provide all of us here in the city with an update on what's going on. She's got slides she's going to show and talk through a presentation. And Mariah, introduce your team as well, if you would. So welcome.
Thank you. Can I control the slides from over here?
My mouse is delayed, so let me pull it up here for you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me, Mayor Bray, Commissioners. I'm happy to be here today to give you all an update on the City Block project. So I'm Mariah Gratz. I'm the CEO of Weyland Ventures. With me today, I also have Bill Weyland, who's one of the founders of our firm, now our Chief Strategy Officer, and Kent Weyland, who's our Investor Relations Manager. So
Your father and your brother.
And my father and my brother. Win that one. We are a family-owned company based in Louisville, Kentucky, as I think many of you all know. We've been in real estate development for 29 years, and our expertise is challenging urban projects, mixed-use projects. We really focus on bringing vibrancy into an area, also focused on making sure that that vibrancy is unique to the community that we're going into, and that we're creating a dynamic mix where we believe 1 and 1 equal 3. So, being true to what's already there and helping existing businesses that are in the area grow and prosper along with what we're doing with our revitalization efforts. So what you'll see on the screen right now is our latest rendering of our Phase 1 hotel project that goes along the western side of the City Block project. See if I can get this to move down. Oh, there we go. All right. To orient everyone, we've got a map. So the building that you saw is highlighted in yellow. That is an 81-room boutique hotel that will have 2 restaurants and some retail space on the first floor, and then a rooftop bar as well. So that's our initial phase for this project, along with the scoping and reimagining of the parking lot that you see there, and introducing along the edges of that parking green space, space for people to congregate, space for people to be more pedestrian friendly, more of a park atmosphere. So it's park and parking kind of rolled into one. There will still be 148 spaces on that lot once it is completed. So those are the first 2 phases. Our goal is to close on our construction financing by the end of this year and start construction on both that parking lot and the initial hotel project in January.
During that construction phase, I know there's been concerns about the parking in that area during construction, where you see future 3-story residential building down at the bottom of the screen. Our goal will be to keep as much of that parking as possible open during the entire construction period. And then as we are finishing up the hotel is about a 14-month construction process. It would come online in the spring of 2024. But the goal would be to open the parking section of the lot more quickly than that. It wouldn't take as long to get that parking section done. We just have to make sure that we've got all the construction inside and we're not causing a safety issue, obviously. So that's the current plan as we see it today. We're very excited to be having this project move forward. We've been working on this for many years. I think our current development agreement was signed in August of 2020. I think at that point we thought we had COVID figured out and we were ready to go. COVID, I think, had a few more surprises for all of us, so that has created some delays, but we're in a good place, and we're really excited about our partnership with Paducah Bank to get the financing of that first phase done. So, a few more additional slides. So again, this is the current view of the hotel project. We really wanted to make it. We've done a lot of research on this block and what used to be there. It used to be the site of a shoe factory. There actually used to be a hotel on this block. So we wanted to kind of bring that history back to the present and reinvigorate that with a nod towards what this block was originally. Some more renderings with the hotel kind of entrance. Trying to make sure we're very pedestrian friendly. And one of the goals with the park design is to create gathering places. You currently have the gazebo location on one corner of the block. The goal is to reimagine that again as a gathering place and a place for arts. On the other side of the block near the flood wall, we've got a gathering place that would really be welcoming for anyone coming in off of the riverboat cruise ships. We would be able to do the carriage rides out of that location, but really kind of welcoming people into downtown Paducah from those riverboats and giving them a different experience than they currently have. This is the view kind of looking back towards the river and towards downtown.
Is that from Jefferson? Okay.
Yep. Again, you'll see some tables spilling out outside of the restaurant that's intended to be on that kind of back side of the building. Again, drawing people kind of down the block towards the Quilt Museum.
And it's 4 stories? Is the rooftop bar going to be 4 stories up?
Yes, so the rooftop bar is on the 4th story, and then we actually have some rooms that pop up to a 5th story.
Okay.
So there's about half of the building has a 5th story. Again, another, whoa, not too far. This is an aerial view looking down on the rooftop. So you'll see there's an indoor space with a lot of windows. That would be a 4 Seasons area. And then we have the exterior deck, which would be more of a 3 Seasons overlooking the river. So we're really excited to try to, the flood wall has many, many great reasons for being there. It needs to remain there, but it cuts Paducah off from that river asset that you all have. So being able to give some people a view of that river and more of an interaction with that river from downtown was one of our goals. One more view from 2nd Street, looking towards the river. And then one of the things that we do internally as we are working on the interiors of our projects is that we create mood boards that tells the designers that are ultimately going to draw it what we're thinking. We find that pictures are worth 1,000 words. So as you look, this is kind of the look and feel that we are going for with this project. You'll notice Red Goose Shoes. That's actually the shoe company that used to be on the site. So again, leaning into that history, I love their logo. It's fantastic. And a few more kind of views of our inspiration and the mood and the design that we're going for. So that's our basic update for today. I don't know if there are any questions that I can answer. Happy to do so.
So I think, we had a meeting earlier today, and actually, I think what you said was we could actually probably break ground earlier than January if we wanted to start into the parking lot. But, we thought better of that based upon the Christmas season, the merchants downtown. So the parking lot will be available all the way through Christmas, and then we'll get started right after.
Yes, I think we could be moving maybe a month quicker, but at this point, I think we would prefer not to cause heartburn by taking that parking lot a month, give or take, in that construction schedule. We'll be fine. So we're happy to get going in January and hope that all of the businesses downtown have a fantastic holiday season. So.
Right. Maybe talk about a little bit about, one of the things we talked about today is the kind of businesses that you look. I think people are wondering if they're going to see, a Wendy's or a Subway or a Cheddar's for that down there. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So we are in conversations with some local restaurateurs about those spaces. Our goal, if you look across our portfolio, we have very few chains in any of our buildings. We are always looking to work with locals, as we think that adds to the dynamics of the project and adds to the dynamics of the overall downtown area. So our goal is to work with locals on unique projects, whether it's an expansion of an existing business or a new location or a fresh entrepreneur. One of the things that we have in this project is 3 smaller retail spaces, and I think those would be great. We would love to work with some local entrepreneurs that maybe need a foot in the door, need a smaller space, be it in the arts or some sort of textile or retail space. So that's one of the things that we haven't started those conversations yet. Our goal has been to really identify those 2 restaurateurs first. But coming up, we do have those 3 spaces available that we're excited to work with some local entrepreneurs on.
Right. And I think some people might have some questions about the future, the mixed-use development or the development of the building across from the hotel, kind of where things are with that right now.
Sure. So our project that you see along the bottom of the screen, the 3-story residential, that is intended to be a 70-unit market rate apartment building. It also has a small commercial space of about 1,500 square feet on that, southern edge towards where the gazebo area currently is. So the goal with that is just to bring more residential to downtown. I think there's a demand for that. One of the great things about having more residential in an urban downtown area is it just drives more 24/7 traffic. You've got people that are on the street more, you've got more people going to restaurants. It just provides a great addition to the traditional business office crowd. So the goal is to bring more people to that residential building and really complement the hotel and the mixed use that's going on, and then all the existing businesses that are occurring around it. That project, we're in a weird kind of space with where inflation is and where construction pricing is and where interest rates are. Ideally, we would be starting that at the same time. It's not working out that way. I think our goal would be to start it towards the middle to end of next year, assuming that, financing markets kind of stabilize a little bit from where they are right now. And that would also allow us to go ahead and get the rest of the parking lot open, and not have to necessarily shut down all of the parking on that lot. So we could stage the construction, I think, a little more to be easier on the City of Paducah and having some of that parking available.
Okay.
We talked about it a few weeks ago, about some of the retail space. Can you shed a little light on what you all will do to attract some minority entrepreneurial businesses there?
Sure.
In that resale space?
Well, we would love for the community to help us make those introductions. I think we're meeting with the Main Street Board tomorrow. We can meet with the College of Design folks, and we're always looking for those introductions within a community in order to make sure that we're getting connected for those spaces, so.
And I would say some of who I rub shoulders with on a daily, if you would expand on the market rate housing, I mean,
Sure.
just explain that a little more.
Sure, I mean, the goal is that there are 70 apartments. They would be market rate. What would you like me to
Well,
explain?
I mean, I would say some of the residents down there would want to make sure it wasn't subsidized. Is it going to be high-end? Is it going to just where you?
Explain what she means by market rate, is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah, so that means it's not subsidized. So it is, we'll be going in and we're not going to be trying to blow the lid off the current, existing market rates that you would pay for an apartment in Paducah. But definitely kind of fitting in with what's already existing and just adding more stock to that market rate level.
Do you have an idea on the square footage of what they may be?
So
Roughly?
Sure, so our units typically run from around, 450 to 500 square feet for a studio, up to probably 1,200 square feet for a two-bedroom. And building is designed as a mix of studios, ones and twos.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Question from the,
Is that okay?
sure.
My name is Shar Diesel, and I'm with the Carriage Service of Downtown. I heard you say you're gonna put it on Water Street, I'm assuming, by the wall. That's not really gonna be a good location for me. Is there a reason we have to do away with the gazebo area?
We're not doing away with the gazebo area. There will still be. So there's opportunities for you to be on both sides of that.
Perfect, that's all because that gazebo was designed for are you gonna tear it up and redo it?
I think we're gonna reimagine the gazebo, but the intention is that the spirit of the gazebo is still at that corner. We think continuing to have that gathering area on that corner for the community and the artists and you is very important.
It's perfect for the horses with the turnaround and everything, safety-wise, and water and electric, so.
Perfect.
That's what I want to know. So Second and Broadway, I can still be at?
I would, yes, I believe so. I would
It's
love
a
to
couple
get
of
your
years
thoughts.
away. Let's don't make any commitments tonight that,
I would love
but
to get your
yes, that is
thoughts
the
so that
goal.
we can make sure that as we're finalizing this design, that we're incorporating the things that you need into that from an infrastructure perspective.
I'll just say this, the carriage rides is one of the things that drives a lot of the charm of our downtown, and it's really, really important to us, so, as is all the people that are down there now, so.
Yeah, most
Just
definitely.
trying to figure out, how we can, work with everyone.
Yes. Yeah, we, believe anybody who's been paying attention will have seen this design change and mature over the last few years, and we've really been trying to take all the feedback that we've been getting from the community to heart, incorporating that into what we can do on this block.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that. We all good? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here with us.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Okay, right now we have a public hearing for the FY 2023 property tax levy. This is something that we go through every year. And so I will officially open the public hearing and ask Senator John Perkins to share information and allow any member of the public to make any comments related to property tax.
Did you say senator or senior?
Senator,
Yes. Senior citizen.
welcome, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, senior senator.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and City Manager, City Clerk. The purpose of this public hearing is to give the public an opportunity to comment on the proposed 26.5-cent real estate tax levy. A hearing is required by Kentucky Revised Statutes if the proposed tax rate exceeds the compensating rate, which is 25.5 cents this year. Local government is permitted to adjust their tax rate upward by 4% above the compensating rate. Please if you would, just take a look at that handout I just gave you. That's a history of where we've been for many, many years. We've taken the maximum allowed only 4 times in the past quarter century, 26 years. And that was in 14, 19, 20, and in 22. And we're proposing to take the maximum allowed this year for fiscal 23. Later in tonight's meeting, the proposed property tax levy ordinance will be introduced. Staff recommends that you set the city's real estate property tax levy at 26.5 cents, which is nearly 3.5 cents less than it was in 2002. And the final reading for the tax levy ordinance is scheduled for September the 27th. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have regarding the property tax levy.
So first of all, I'll just make a comment relative to property values. I know that we have a PVA, who has reassessed a lot of property in the city and county. And a lot of people, kind of don't understand the relationship between their property, the value of their property, the compensating rate, how the 4% works, me included, actually. It's kind of complicated, so you want to take a crack at explaining that?
That's a loaded question, but the answer is I think so. Okay. Under the law, as you just said, I'll try to make this as simple as I can. It's not as simple as I'm going to try to make it, but basically, if your tax base grows, let's say theoretically, if your tax base grows by 10%, theoretically, your tax levy should go down by 10%. And then whatever that rate is, that's the compensating rate. Then you can take the compensating rate and increase it by as much as 4%, and that would be the maximum rate you could take. Now, while the rate is going down, I know the superintendent of schools is here too. Schools rate's going down, the city's rate's going down, the junior college rate is going down. So if your assessed value did not move, then you should have a smaller tax bill. However, if the PVA did reassess you and your value went up, even though our levies are dropping, your tax bill will probably go up. Let's be frank about it. Does that kind of make sense?
Yep. But in aggregate, the cities, we can only increase our tax revenues on a whole basis by 4%.
That's correct. And you hit a good point there. Some people get confused in thinking that the 4% maximum applies to an individual. That's not the case. It's, as you said, in the aggregate.
Okay.
So it's possible if your house for years has been assessed at $50,000 and the PVA has now come through and assessed at $100,000, well, your rates, while they may be going down, the value goes up, the tax base increases, therefore the tax bill will also go up.
Okay. Thank you, John. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make a comment or ask a question? Okay, we'll have a second hearing, as you said, later this month, and appreciate you being here.
Thank you, sir.
So before we get started with the more formal agenda, I just want to make one remark. I'm really saddened by the fact that we lost one of our former city commissioners, Zana Renfro. She passed away this last week. She served 2 terms as city commissioner under both Mayor Jerry Montgomery and Albert Jones. She's first elected in '93 and then again in '96, and she served in that position until the end of 1998. She also later became a county commissioner, so she's one of those rare people that served on both the city and county boards. Including, in addition to the city and county board, she served the Joint Sewer Agency, McCracken County 911, Paducah Area Transit Authority, American Cancer Society, United Way of Paducah McCracken County, Easter Seals, and the American Heart Association. So she was a true local patriot, and, we're all saddened by her loss, and extend our sympathies to the family. With that, we'll move to the agenda and talk about, first of all, the consent agenda. Items on our consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Commissioners and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. City Clerk will read the items recommended for approval. Would any commissioner like an item removed for separate discussion? And I think we do have one item that we're going to pull. Okay, so we're going to pull item F on the consent agenda, which is the application for the United States Department of Transportation grant. And we'll pull that off for discussion since we have people here that are prepared to talk about it. Would any commissioner like any other item removed for separate discussion? Okay, so I'll ask the city clerk to read the items recommended for approval.
Approve minutes for the August 23rd, 2022 Paducah Board of Commissioners meeting. Receive and file documents. Reappointment of Jeff Holland to the Paducah McCracken County Riverport Authority Board. Said term shall expire September 26, 2026. Personnel actions. A municipal order authorizing the mayor to execute a 2023 Kentucky Litter Abatement Grant application through the Kentucky Division of Waste Management for the Public Works Department Street Litter Abatement Program, accepting all awarded grant funds and authorizing the mayor to execute all award documents. A municipal order declaring the real property located at 1223 Salem Avenue to be surplus property, accepting the bid of Guy and Vanessa Jones in the amount of $250 for purchase of said real property and authorizing the mayor to execute the deed and all documents related to same.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, so I do have some board appointments that I pulled off, and I just wanted to talk about it briefly because it relates to the Main Street Board. The Main Street is an area in the city that we have been, I heard the word reimagining from Weyland, but certainly we have been trying to reimagine that board, reappoint the right people to the board, support that board through staff, through the city staff, and make sure that we had, the right people on that board that were going to support downtown growth and really give us good advice on how to move forward. So there are 4 new appointments for tonight. Brian Shimwell, who owns Barrel and Bond. Jessica Rumsey, who, I'm sorry?
I think she's with Spectrum.
She's with
Oh, Spectrum, okay, thank you. Whitney Wallace, who is with Beautiful Paducah and is very active downtown. And Craig Newbern, who's an attorney that ran for office recently, but is very well known and very well respected. So these are 4 appointments, and I just wanted to call them out because we're expecting big things from the Main Street Board under Nick, our Director of Planning, Nick Hutchinson's guidance and leadership. So any comments or thoughts from anybody?
I think excellent choices. As you and I both have met with members, I know they're working really hard.
Okay. Great, thank you. I'll ask the city clerk to please call roll then for these appointments.
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners approve the action of Mayor Bray in the appointment of Ryan Shimwell, Jessica Rumsey, Whitney Ravalette Wallace, and Craig Newbern to the Paducah Main Street Board. Said term shall expire on June 10th, 2026, August 22nd, 2025, and November 10th, 2024, respectively.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, we have 4 municipal orders tonight, and I'll ask the city clerk to read the first one.
Yeah, pro lip.
Oh,
The one we
okay.
moved
All
from.
right, where are we?
So
Yeah,
the one we moved from
off.
the consent agenda, approve the application for the U.S. Department of Transportation Safe Streets and Roads for All grant.
Okay. All right, I think I'll do that. And so we have some people here to talk about that. Hope will talk about the grant itself. We have representatives of the state of Kentucky. This has to do with a project that the state has envisioned for some time, and so I'll let Hope introduce us to it.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, City Manager, City Clerk. Tonight, we are requesting to submit an application for a federal U.S. Department of Transportation Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. This is a brand-new grant program through the Department of Transportation. It came out of the bipartisan infrastructure law. It is really designed around reducing crashes, reducing injuries, making streets safe for everyone, not only personal vehicles, but pedestrians, bicyclists, commercial vehicles, disabled individuals, everyone. And so what we are looking at in partnership with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet is the intersection, most commonly known as the Coke Plant, there at Broadway and Buckner and Lone Oak Road. And as the mayor mentioned, this has been something that has been looked at for quite some time. The reason the city is taking the lead in this application is that the state is not eligible to apply. So through this, we would partner with the state in order to complete this project, as well as other members from the community locally that are here that have also submitted their letters of support for this project. And with that, I will turn it over to Kyle here to talk from the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. As Hope was discussing, our partnership with the city for this project, it has been on our radar for probably close to 10 years. In 2016, we undertook a different mechanism as to how we score and gauge projects, and we meet with the local officials every 2 years on those. That's called the shift cycle. And so this project that she mentions at this intersection conglomerate, we'll call it the Coke Plant intersection, has been one that has ranked locally high, but for other reasons has not ever broke through the barrier of receiving funding from the state level yet at this time. It's been close, but hasn't ever pushed on through. And so one of the things that I had found as I went through and was in writing the letter of support as well for this, I pulled a crash history. And in the last 10 years, we've had over 100 crashes at that particular makeup of the intersection. And then one of the other strong components that I feel that this grant allows for this intersection is the overall improvement to the pedestrian aspect that is encountered there. Really extending all the way up the corridor of Buckner to Clark Elementary if you encompass that entire region. And so one of the things that Rick and I have talked about in regards to this project, first of all, is a redesign of the intersection as you currently would see it. As well as improving the pedestrian facilities all the way down Buckner, as well as the inflow, outflow down Buckner from Clark Elementary specifically. So I think it would be a great enhancement to the entire area for that entire region. You see development occurring now over on the southeast corner We've recently partnered with adding the pedestrian crosswalk there along Lone Oak Road portion of it. But this project would, and the funding that could become available from this grant would help push us over the edge.
Okay. First of all, a couple things. One of the things I dealt with several months back was a child getting hit, in the intersection. Thank goodness, there was no major injuries, but that kind of spurred all of us to put together the crosswalks and whatnot. But I was thinking back to, you mentioned 100 crashes in the last 10 years. I don't think I'm in there, but I've actually had an accident there myself, so.
I can pull it and put your name on it.
And, and actually it was my fault, so don't do that.
Duly noted.
But, it's always a balancing act. And I know that Mr. Musselman's here tonight, the proprietor, the owner, the developer, the Coke plant. Ms. Davis is here. I mean, there's, that area of town is really growing, and there's a lot of great things going on. And I know we don't want to do anything to, to impede that growth at all, but at the same time, it really, you got that little former gas station sitting there on the corner that's of no use to anyone. Mm-hmm. And so, at any rate, I think it's certainly a worthy project to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I would add too, talking about the developments, I think one of the things that you find when you do an intersection improvement, for example, for this area here, and you provide a more pedestrian-friendly area, you also provide a safer area from reducing the crash history. There's going to be components of this where you improve parking. And so I think what you find once you complete something like this is an overall enhancement to everything involved there. You don't, there are negative aspects that people view on the front end, but the positives on the back end start to outweigh everything that is created. I would draw comparisons to other intersections and things that we've done as the transportation cabinet over the last several years. If I had $1 for every time I was told on the front end this was a terrible idea, and then $1 on the back end, I'd have a whole lot more money on the back end of where people come back to me and say, we were wrong in what we told you. So, I would encourage that same aspect here, is that it would be an enhancement for everybody.
What is the grant request amount?
Based on prior review of this, we're looking at a total project cost of around $17 million. And I would like to add, Dr. Shively is here. Kyle mentioned Clark Elementary. This would also encompass Paducah Middle, because one of the school systems concerned is the children that walk from Paducah Middle to Clark to catch the ride, and students that ride their bikes to Paducah Middle, and kind of the congestion there on Lone Oak Road. And in speaking of crashes, one of the things I'd done was pulled crashes, not only that intersection, but a half-mile radius around it. And over a 6-year time span, it was 857 crashes when you took in that half-mile radius, with 211 injuries. So that's expanding what's feeding into that intersection as well as the intersection itself.
And Kyle, could you kind of describe what you're looking to do?
So I don't want to get down in the weeds too much just yet, because we're still in the planning stages. But from a high level view, we would be looking at reconfiguring the way. So what you have, it's Lone Oak Road, but really once you go through the Jackson Street Hannon Plaza intersection, that becomes 731. So US 45, which is technically Lone Oak Road, takes the right down Jackson Street. And so that becomes 731. Kentucky Route 731. And so where 731 connects with Buckner Broadway, as you currently execute the movement, you have to make a left onto Buckner to then make a right to return back to 32nd Street or Kentucky 731. And so our view would be to realign 731 into a more traditional four-legged intersection. Instead of the one, you basically have 5 legs that are misconfigured. And so the intent would be to try to align 731 Lone Oak Road with 32nd Street, but then also enhance the turning movements, adding turning lanes to all legs, extending additional sidewalk and on and off ramp, sidewalk ramps to the new intersection itself. That's kind of it from a high level view.
City manager? Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, now you said it's a $17 million grant. Would that be the total amount that it would cost to do everything that needs to be done there?
That's the estimate at this time.
So if I may speak to that, this is the application process, and part of the application process, you have to come up with some budgetary figures. Nothing has been designed at this point, and so what we're talking about is conceptually. And if we're fortunate enough, or when we're fortunate enough to get the grant, the partnership that we'll do will also include the continued dialogue with the community. To take in all of those comments. And we were actually diligent on the front side. I tasked our team to go out and meet with those that would be ultimately impacted by this more directly and have those conversations and get their input. And you've heard about some support. We had some great conversations there, and several of them here tonight. But also, we've encouraged those that may have a different view of this to be a part of that conversation. And Mr. Musselman is here tonight, and I think he'll may wish to speak on that. I will say that he is in agreement about the safety. It's just about, ultimately the design and how that might impact that. But as we sit tonight and for the application, and to your question, Commissioner, we have to have some type of figure in there for the application, but no design has been met or has been done at this time. It's just conceptual.
That is correct. And those cost estimates are based on several of the iterations from a high-level view that we've performed in our iterations over the last several years.
Any other comments from commissioners? Okay, thank you, Kyle and Hope. We have Donald Shibley.
Suggestion on something I've seen on that intersection. Would it be feasible with a pedestrian skywalk by the railroad, to have the abutments there already for the children to be able to go up and over the overpass?
Well, since we haven't started the design stage yet, that is something that we could consider, sure. As to its practicality, I don't know, but.
Yeah, I think to tie into Mr. Jordan's comment, one of the things that I would caution everyone on is that, as was pointed out, the intent with the grant is to find ourselves a funding mechanism. At that point, we would then go through an iteration of public meetings and get input, such as what you're saying, and perform higher level analysis and determine what we think is ultimately the best fit. As we said, we have to start with things on paper to get ourselves to a theoretical dollar amount so that we can apply for a grant like this. And the intent with applying for grants such as these, whether it be the city, even the state, when we apply for other types of grants, is you're just tapping into other funding mechanisms that allows you to complete projects that otherwise get pushed aside from time to time for bigger dollar items that exist out there. And so these are prime opportunities for us to partner to be able to funnel extra money into our community that we don't normally get.
Yeah, and I just want to say, Kyle, I've told you this before, but what a great partner you and your leadership with the state has been. And, we were talking, there's been a lot of roads paved in this area. A lot of state work that's gone on, and people have noticed, and we appreciate, everything you do. And I'd just say, make one more point. A project as big as this, it's always, as you mentioned, Kyle, it's always going to have the opportunity for public comments and public input. So we're early in the process. So Okay, we got a couple of people here tonight that do want to speak about this. First of all, Dr. Shively, Donald Shively, who's superintendent of the Paducah Independent School System, and Clark School creates a lot of the traffic on Buckner Lane there. I can attest to that. I have a granddaughter in the 5th grade, so she walks to school every morning.
Absolutely. So thank you for the opportunity to speak on that, specifically to the project that was just discussed. We have over 1,300 students within a quarter of a mile of the Coke intersection. And so the board and I are fully behind us reimagining the safety of that area. And so we have a letter of commitment to be partners in this grant. And so, you know, relative to, I think it was spoken to, but we have students dropped off, obviously on buses, but walking to school, riding bikes to school, and then we do have a large amount of students, because I've had some that have done this that are my own, that want to walk from the middle school over to Clark to catch a ride with a younger sibling getting picked up at Clark on those times. So we are definitely a partner on this. And so I do have one other thing to speak about, but it's a little bit later in the agenda. So you want me to do that now, or? Okay.
Well, you'll have a second chance.
All right, I've got 2 sons playing 2 different sports in 2 spots tonight. So
Okay. And then we, Mr. Musselman, Ed Musselman, the, you know, our developer of the Coke plant, has been so important. The mid part is mid Paducah, as I call it. So, Ed, great to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Jordan, for the invitation. I do want to start by saying 100%, you know, any funds that we can get to better our city, I'm all in favor of. Safety, absolutely. I've seen the challenges of the intersections, especially LaBelle and Jefferson, as well as the intersection out in front of the building. And I do thank the folks who have kind of made my point before me. The Coke plant intersection is something of a landmark intersection, and landmarks are to be cherished and held on to. And the proposal that I've seen is to move the intersection, and it wouldn't be the Coke plant intersection anymore. The building was built. It was built because of the intersection, because of the shape of the property. The renovation, preservation of the building was challenging because it was not built out of right angles, same as the intersection. And I think that, again, if it's conceptual and we're not to a final design yet, fantastic. I would very much like to be a part of future conversations. But I think that the easy way out is to tear down opaque and acute angles and put up square. And that's the same with construction. It's the same with rehabilitation. It's the same with the landmark intersection. Now, I don't want to see anybody ever get hit. I don't want to see any challenges there. Walkable community is absolutely what's needed there. But bypassing a landmark intersection, I just don't see that that's an improvement for our city. I think that's the easy way out. I think that's tearing down the challenging angles and making them square. And I think that makes it less interesting. And so, again, I appreciate the invitation, time to speak, and, you know, I'd be happy to dig into further details with any of you if you have any questions. But thank you.
Well, you make some great points. You really do. And I think the challenge that we have is to try to accomplish, you know, something unique there, and increase safety and walkability and all the things that we need to do. And so, you know, that'll be, you know, you'll have every opportunity, you know, to have a voice at the table as we move forward. And so we're early in the process, but we do have an opportunity to increase safety, and so we'll just work hard to try to accomplish as many people's goals as possible.
I agree that the safety is essential. You know, any interest that I have, I would put secondary to safety, but I also would challenge anybody involved in that project to, you know, also not take the easy way out. And that will create a challenge. It will be a difficult project, I'm certain of it.
Kyle, we need to look for creative engineers. All right, thank you, Ed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, where are we?
We'll do a motion to approve.
Oh, okay. Yeah, please read is it municipal order? Please read it.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to approve a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Authorizing the Mayor to Execute All Documents Necessary to Apply for a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant in the amount of $17 million to the U.S. Department of Transportation to improve roadway safety through the Safety Action Plan development and the redesign of the Buckner Lane, Broadway Street, and Lone Oak Road, LaBelle Avenue intersection with improvements to 32nd Street and Buckner Lane to better accommodate traffic flow."
So move.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, now we'll move to FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant. And maybe we'll let you read the municipal order first, then we'll hear from Chief Kyle.
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Accepting Grant Funds Through the FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant, AFG, in an amount of $237,272.73 to fund bailout kits for the city's firefighters and exhaust systems for each of the 5 fire stations, and authorizing the mayor to execute the grant agreement and all documents related to same."
So moved.
Second.
Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners, City Manager, and City Clerk. We're excited to come before you tonight to ask you to accept the grant that we applied for. In totality, our total application was $261,000 of those 2 components that we're talking about. The bulk of the grant was $216,000 for exhaust capture systems to remove cancer-causing agents out of the stations that are emitted by the fire trucks. So we're extremely excited about that. All of our facilities are better than 40 years old and don't have any of these amenities in them. So we're super excited about that, to get that project going and to increase the level of safety in our buildings. The other component was $45,000 for bailout kits. What that is a type of personal protective equipment that we will install inside of the turnout gear of each firefighter. It's a built-in safety mechanism to allow them to bail out of a window in the event that they had to in a safe manner. We teach techniques of where they can do that without these kits, but these kits are available. They make it a safer way if you had to do it. Hopefully we never have to do it, but if you had to do it, it makes it safer, as it's already integrated into the turnout gear and would help them escape the environment that they're in. So we're also very excited about that, about the purchase of that equipment and the installation of it into the turnout gear.
Comments, commissioners? So, Chief, I'm reminded, as we just had the anniversary of 9/11, I saw some of the posts, where some of our firefighters, participated in all that, and I'm just reminded, of what happened, and just, for me, it was very kind of an emotional time, and I'm reminded, at the fact that, your folks put themselves in harm's way, and we appreciate all the work that you do, and if we can somehow make it safer, we want to do that.
We thank you for that opportunity, and especially supporting us in applying for the grant. We've learned so much about the profession that we're in, especially over the last 20 years, with 9/11 being one of those things that we've learned from, and all the cancer that has come out of that event, from the response and what we're seeing across our profession as a whole. So anything we can do to contribute to that, to help minimize that risk as they go about doing their job on a daily basis, is a win for us, and we appreciate your support for that.
Great. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
If there are no more questions, I'll ask the city clerk to call roll.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, we have a transfer of property. Would you read that one, please, city clerk?
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order of the City of Paducah, Kentucky declaring the real property located at 420 South 13th Street, Paducah, Kentucky to be surplus property, authorizing the transfer of said real property to the Paducah Public Schools Board of Education, and authorizing the mayor to execute the deed and all documents related to same."
So move.
Second.
Call roll.
Well, you don't need me to speak.
Sorry.
I'm happy to let you just call.
Well, we made Dr. Shively wait for this part, so I think we need to.
Sorry.
I'm just going to give a brief history, and then I'm going to let Dr. Shively talk, because I know he needs to go too. This is 420 South 13th Street, also known as Midtown Park. We are looking at donating a portion of the park to the public schools to develop for soccer. We feel like right now the park is used for golf, foot golf, and disc golf, and it is underutilized. So we feel like in this area, in the south side of town, developing soccer complex and supporting the schools is a benefit to the community. So, you wanna,
Sure.
I know you gotta go.
No, that's okay. I just got the score. We're still in the 7th grade game for second quarter. So my son's 8th grade, and then we're doing 8th grade recognition. So thank you all for, again, an opportunity to speak on this. But we're really excited to present an opportunity for a partnership with the City of Paducah. Our students, our varsity girls and boys soccer program practice at Shepherd's Field over by Brooks Stadium. And while we appreciate that, it lacks some amenities that we would like to have for our children. And so we approached Amy Clark in the Parks Department relative to the strategic plan that's there. It's the City of Paducah's Parks Master Plan, and the property right behind our soccer field. The vision, I think established in 2018, was to have 2 fields there. And so as we started to reimagine our vision for our soccer program, for our student athletes, we started hearing that we're going to be investing in the south side. And you know what's going on at the Jatan relative to the development there. And so those discussions turned into, if you will donate that to us, we'll move your vision forward. And just to make sure all the commissioners, the mayor, and the community understand, is we have an agreement approved by you all and our school board. It's a shared usage agreement. And so from a property standpoint, we share things back and forth. And so it's just a request on behalf of one entity or the other relative, can we use your football field or can we use Brooks Stadium? And so it's not really like you're giving it exactly away. It's just an opportunity for us to advance that. And I stand here before you 2 weeks ago. We had an anonymous soccer donor commit $500,000 to move this project forward. And so I know that's one thought you have is, how are you going to get this done? Well, we're going to get this done quickly. And so that alumni is challenging our other alumni, our parents, our boosters, our community, to match that $500,000 to upgrade that facility. And so very excited about the opportunity and the investment, not only in our children, but this partnership between the city schools and the city government and our community. So any questions?
Yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah.
And, the property, for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's the property where the old Midtown Golf Course was, right? That was kind of connected right beside the old location for the Oscar Cross Boys and Girls Club. And it really has not been used, recently. And so there's a lot of history, between the club and the golf course. Going back maybe to when actually Oscar Cross was still alive, and some folks that had got involved in that. But based upon everything that's going on the south side, the Walter Jatan project, which is moving along,
Absolutely.
and other things that we're talking about with the South Side Committee about residential incentives, as well as some commercial incentives, I think it all fits in very nicely. So.
Absolutely.
Everybody good?
Thank you all.
All right, I'll,
Dr. Shively, I'm sorry, I don't want anything. I was just trying to hold you up some more. That's all.
Go to football.
Do you want some coffee after this?
Yeah,
This is our comedian. This is our comedian.
I will be at the middle school football field or the middle school baseball field. I got to flip a coin. I got 2 children playing in different places. So, but thank you.
Go see your kids. Thank you, Donald. Okay, please call roll.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye. Okay, I'll ask the city clerk to please read the next municipal order, and then we'll speak about it.
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Authorizing the City Manager to Initiate a Request for Proposals for Consulting Services Related to a Joint Agency Comprehensive Plan with McCracken County."
So moved.
Second?
Hi, Nick.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission, City Manager, City Clerk. We are excited to initiate the comprehensive planning process in conjunction with McCracken County. So according to KRS, municipalities and counties who have zoning regulations adopted are required to have a comprehensive plan on file and adopt that plan every 5 years. For Paducah, our plan was originally created in 2007, and then there was an amendment done in 2012, and then it was readopted in 2017 and this year in 2022. We would argue that City of Paducah looks very different today than it did back in 2007. We face new challenges and new opportunities, and this is a great opportunity to work in partnership with the county in addressing some of those challenges and opportunities, and make sure that we're on the same page moving forward as we look at policy decisions and land use regulations. So we'll be initiating this process. We anticipate the planning process to be about 12 months. That could change based off of what they envision the community engagement looking like. This is going to be a very community intensive process, both on the city and county side. And we're really excited about the partnership and the collaboration moving forward.
Questions? So I think it's a great opportunity. We've talked about this ad infinitum, but really we have one community. We have city and county, but we're really one community, and we really can't plan without both of us planning. So we have to engage and participate, in a comprehensive plan and see really what we want for the community, anticipate where we're going to grow, and think about the future, and think about that in conjunction and collaboration with the county. So I think it's great, and I've been behind it from the beginning. So. Okay. I'll ask the city clerk to please call roll.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Guest,
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye. And now we have an MOU with ViWinTech, and I'll let the city clerk read it, but it has to do with the old structure on the south side that everybody has wanted to be down for the last 20 years, the Continental Inn, all the various things it was, and we're getting ready to get it down, but this is the process we go through. So, City Clerk, would you read it?
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Authorizing and Approving a Memorandum of Understanding with ViWinTech Window and Door Incorporated for Paducah Economic Incentive Payment in an amount not to exceed $172,000 with certain conditions, and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents related to same."
So move.
Second?
City Manager, you want to get into the details?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and Commission. This is a project, as the mayor mentioned, in relationship to a piece of property that was acquired by ViWinTech, the old res care facility there, that has been a blighted property for much longer than anybody would care to remember about it. And so what we did was looked at the opportunity that to partner with the state, sort of on the back end. The state did do an economic incentive package for the company in relationship to the creation of 40 jobs for an expansion. And then to facilitate that expansion, Evan Riddicker and his team looked at the property across the street that could be demolished and then made allowable for future expansion of the company, but also in support of expansion that was approved for funding through the State Economic Development Cabinet. And so in conversations, we agreed that a economic incentive based on the state's requirement of 40 new jobs being created at a certain period of time, and at least those jobs staying intact for a period of 5 years beyond the date of completion, and then also the removal of that building all rolled in together to where we would issue an economic development incentive not to exceed $172,000. That would be paid upon the completion of the blighted property being removed and them making the payment and submitting those documents to us. And then I talked about the job creation numbers, and then so they'll have to hit those numbers and then maintain those numbers, or there is a repayment plan based on percentage of the numbers they do not make. But as long as they make 90% of it, then the economic incentive would stay in place. And it is capped at $172,000.
So I was in a meeting last week out at ViWinTech, and I was struck by how fast they're growing, and I was struck by lots of different things. I mean, they are really they're going great guns out there, but probably I was struck most by the fact that they talked about how important their location on the south side was, and that their employee base is driven largely by that area of town. They have people, they have a lot of people that ride their bikes to work, and they have people that get rides, and we know that this is a part of town that we're all focused on. So I think this is a win-win-win-win. Not ViWinTech, but win-win-win for all of us, really, in terms of what we're trying to accomplish on the south side. And it's great to have a business partner out there, that's in sync with, with what our goals are. And, I would say that they would, they're focused on their business, but they would be a great partner for lots of projects on the south side, at some point in the future. So anyway, I think this is a great day, from my standpoint. So any other comments or thoughts? Okay, I'll ask the city clerk to call roll.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. So we have one ordinance to adopt. We had the first reading a couple of weeks ago. It's the closure of an alley. Rick Murphy's not with us tonight, but I'll ask the city clerk to read it. And then if there's any questions, City Manager Jordan, I think, could help us out with it. So.
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance providing for the closing of a 3,528.36 square foot alley north of George Street and between South 3rd Street and South 4th Street, the closure of a 1,004 square foot alley south of Husband Street between South 13th Street and South 4th Street, and the closure of a portion of 1,103.73 linear feet of the west side of South 4th Street, and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents related to same. This ordinance is summarized as follows: that the City of Paducah does hereby authorize the closing of 3,528.36 square foot alley north of George Street and between South 3rd Street and South 4th Street, the closure of 1,004 square foot alley south of Husband Street between South 3rd Street and South 4th Street, and the closure of a portion of 1,103.73 linear feet of the west side of South 4th Street, and authorizes, empowers, and directs the mayor to execute a quitclaim deed from the City of Paducah to the property owner in or abutting the public way to be closed.
So moved.
Second.
As this is a second reading, there's not a lot of new information to share, but
Just remind us where it is.
So if you're thinking about the George Street, if you think 3rd and 4th Street, where Husband comes in there.
Is it around Precision Machines?
In that area.
Okay.
Yep. So there's two property owners that own pieces of property on either side, and they've requested the closure of the alley so they can look for development. The closure has been recommended by the planning and staff on that, as you heard last time, and it does. The Planning Commission did hear had a public hearing to this effect.
Okay. Everybody good? Okay, please call roll.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye. And we are introducing one ordinance tonight, and that's the tax levy that John Perkins talked about earlier. So I'll ask the city clerk to read it.
A proposed motion, the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance fixing the levies and rates of taxation on all property in the City of Paducah, Kentucky, subject to taxation for municipal purposes and for school purposes for the period from July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, with the purposes of said taxes hereunder defined. Purpose and rate per $100. General fund of the city, real property at $0.265, personal property except inventory at $0.39, motor vehicles and watercraft at $0.39, school purposes, Paducah Junior College, real estate, $0.015, personal property except inventory, $0.015, motor vehicles and watercraft at $0.031. The City of Paducah shall collect the following taxes for the Board of Education. Paducah Independent School District, real property at $0.846, personal property including inventory at $0.864. Property taxes levied herein shall be due and payable in the following manner. In the case of tax bills which reflect an amount due of less than $1,500, the payment shall be due on November 1st, 2022, and shall be payable without penalty and interest until November 30th, 2022. In the case of all other tax bills, payment shall be in accordance with the following provisions. A, the first half payment shall be due on November 1st, 2022, and shall be payable without penalty and interest until November 30th, 2022. And B, the second half payment shall be due on February 1st, 2023, and shall be payable without penalty and interest until February 28th, 2023.
So moved.
Second?
Any more discussion? I mean, Jonathan explained it pretty well, so. Okay, we'll move on. That was just the first reading, so. So from here, we'll move to a discussion item, and Hope Reasons is going to give us an update on all the great work that she's been doing. I think we've pushed her out a couple of times, so
Yes.
didn't
so-
want you to think it wasn't important, but
Not at all, no. This is for the last quarter of last fiscal year, so April, May, and June of 2022. So you all have copies of these reports.
Yeah, it should be in the
your
side pocket.
folder.
okay.
We can put them up on the screen if you would like, or if you just want to review them. Put the screen. Okay. So we'll start with the fourth quarter, April through June.
My mouse is on about a 5-second delay, so bear with me.
Thank you. So the first section there, these are the grants that were submitted during that quarter. We had several that were submitted for a total of $1,060,966. Of that, we were required to match with $103,214. Those were the grants that were in process at that time. Those have both been submitted. And then we also had several awarded during that quarter, including the EPA Brownfields grant, Household Hazardous Waste, a safety grant, crumbled rubber grant for the Parks and Rec Department, and a tennis grant for the Parks and Rec Department, and a cybersecurity grant. If you flip over, this just gives a summary of the active administered grants at the end of the quarter as well. You will see we have a total of $17,952,851 in grant funding, with a match of 1.5 million, just a little bit over 1.5. Some of the fourth quarter updates, the Kentucky League of Cities Safety Grant was both awarded and closed out during the quarter. Our first ARPA report was submitted in April. For the 21-22 Household Hazardous Waste, the Spring Cleanup Day was April 23rd. Had a really good turnout for that, and as a result, we were able to close out that grant. We had our 2021 Justice Assistance Grant, JAG grant, closed out. And then on our 2021 Homeland Security Grant, the police station has been working on getting an X-ray machine for the bomb squad. And so that is still in process. We've gone through the steps on that, and they're working with the vendor right now to secure that. So any questions on fourth quarter? Okay. And then we'll go to our year-end report for fiscal year 21-22. You will see in that first section, the total amount of grants submitted was almost 2 million, 1.95 million. Our match requirement on those grants was $156,491. The three that are in bold in that section are the three that we have not heard back on yet. Those are still pending. All the rest we have heard back from. All of them were awarded except for two. The 2022 AARP Community Challenge. We did not receive that one for the pickleball courts. They received over 3,200 applications for that, so it was very competitive. And then we did not receive the T-Mobile hometown grant for the Parks and Rec Department for the playground, and I just went blank on the park. It was to replace a playground.
Accessibility.
Yes. Yes, okay. And that one, they don't typically give individual feedback on, but I'm still gonna follow up and see if I can find something out on that. But total awards for the fiscal year stands at $893,151 with a required match of $67,802. Short and sweet. Any questions on that?
No, it's impressive. Good work.
Grants is a mysterious area for me. I'll just say that.
Well, we've got a really great team to work with here.
Well, it's great. I mean, I know there's an expertise in finding and writing grants and, getting them. And so it's been something that we've been good at for a long time. So, and I'll just say this, the last couple of years with COVID, there's been a lot of money that's come down to states and cities, and counties. So I've seen grants awarded that, I didn't think would get awarded, or that there was not enough money to fund. And just looking at this grant, the $17 million grant, that 5 years ago, I don't think we'd have been looking at the possibility of that. So anyway, it's a very important area, and we appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you. And I think building upon that, we're going to see even more with the bipartisan infrastructure law, especially over the next 3 to 4 years with that. I think we're going to see even more funding opportunities, particularly for infrastructure, coming along.
Okay. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Mayor, if I may also, we talked about that transportation grant, and the discovery of that was large part to Hope doing her due diligence and looking for those opportunities. We've tasked her with that. She's come on and has been learning the ropes of local government, and but we're pleased to have her as part of the team. And I don't want her to sell herself short of the work that she's been doing and leading that effort. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I now know more about safe intersections than I ever thought I would. Thank you all.
Okay, so we'll move to comments. Comments from city manager?
No, sir.
Okay. Any comments from any commissioner?
No, I'm good.
I do have something briefly.
Yeah.
We all, as a member of this body, follow the tell one, tell all policy. So I want to make sure that I do that and don't get you all in trouble. We had a 911 meeting this morning, and city manager, please feel free to interrupt if you would like to add something. But we had a 911 meeting this morning, and the city manager and the deputy judge, I always want to call him something else, and it's wrong. But Doolittle, Steve, was not able to attend, but their RFP has come back. It's in a draft process, and the city manager and Steve have gone over it. They have some questions for clarification. One member of the fiscal court asked to see it and then pass it out among the fiscal court for them to review it. Absolutely, I can understand why, but they asked if we were going to do the same thing. And my answer to that was twofold. It slows down the process considerably, and it's a very technical report. Would you say?
Yes.
It's very difficult to understand. And none of us really have that expertise, and we've never made it a practice to do that with all the RFPs that go out of the city. So I explained that. They seem to be fine with it. They're going to do it one way. We will fall back on Darren's unless you all have an objection to that. But it's 114 pages?
100, yeah, I forget that. I've lost, and then with, close to 150 with the attachments and things like that,
exactly.
I think, yeah.
So if there's any, I just don't want to catch anybody off guard, if you hear it out in the community or whatever.
So I'll make this comment. I mean, the county is committed to be a full partner with us on 911. And, they go through a different process.
Absolutely.
And, we have to respect that process. And the only thing I'll say is that, I mean, people of those with the expertise have been adamant, to make sure that the RFP doesn't get out. Because that kind of destroys the process. So we have to, the confidentiality and the security of that is extremely important.
And we have a 5-member committee that we have depended on to do the process from start to finish. And we've kind of empowered them to take their recommendation. And we just don't want to, from my perspective, we don't want to slow the process down. We're starting to make some headway. And frankly, they're starting to see a little bit of volunteer fatigue. And so the more people that have it, the more to review it, the longer it takes. And we're beginning to be pushed for a timeline.
We just need to keep it moving.
That's right.
I mean, we just have to keep, because it is a complex process, and we won't get there if we don't keep.
But if
moving,
anybody
so.
has an objection, please let me know.
And just as a follow-up, Commissioner mentioned that Deputy Judge Executive Doolittle and I did meet. We continue to meet. Matter of fact, we've got a meeting in the morning at 8 o'clock to continue through that process. The RFP process, we both agreed was very strong, or the RFP itself, very strong, which you paid for that to be that way from the experts. There's just some questions for clarifications on it as we go through it, and so, but nothing overly aggressive that I think would slow it down, but we did want to be able to provide some comments and questions back to federal and then get those answers before the RFP was released on the street, just to, again, to Commissioner's point, to not slow the process down. So if we can get some clarification and wording that is better clarifying of the intent on the front side, it would slow down, or it would speed up the process of not having questions come in after it's released.
Absolutely. And in the 10 years that I had served as a president, I can never remember us getting an RFP in the draft process as an elected body and with comments and such. So that's kind of been the protocol, and I just followed the protocol. So if we want to change that, let me know.
I think, any comments, any thoughts from anybody? I think we're good. I mean, I think we're comfortable with the process. I'm staying in touch with Darren, about the RFP. He's, I've grown to respect Darren's attention to detail. So I know that he has gone over it with a fine-tooth comb, and so that gives me even greater confidence that, we're on top of it. And so thank you for your comments. Appreciate it.
Sure.
We have one member of the audience that has comments. Mr. Norton, if you'd like to come up and.
As the people who my comments were specifically directed toward have left the building, I'm going to hold this for another time.
Okay. All right then. So with that, we do have an executive session. So if I could have a motion to move into executive session.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to go into closed session for discussion of matters pertaining to the following topics: a specific proposal by a business entity where public discussion of the subject matter would jeopardize the location, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a business entity as permitted by KRS 61.8101G.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye.